Hello and good afternoon, Xbox Nation. Welcome to this week's new episode of X Vlog Live. I am your host, or at least one of them, Mr. BoomStick XL. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a rock solid 60 plus minutes for you. Two topics in and out the door. I am just awaiting C Money to join us. We're going to be talking about the controversy that came the way of Matt Booty. And you know what's interesting? I did some digging as to how many actual articles, and I stopped at 10. This is not counting the socials, this is not counting Reddit. This is just counting articles about what Matt Booty had to say. Now, we're going to break down exactly what he said and why it got a lot of people up in arms. And I think it's that false Xbox concern narrative, right? Whether it be how much money they're making, whether or not they're going to ship games on Xbox only and then move it to PlayStation or do day and date. There's all this false concern for Xbox, but ladies and gentlemen, that is what it is. But look, again, thank you so much for checking out today's show. What you're going to get in front of you is some actual gameplay from the Outer Worlds 2 that launched yesterday to not only great reviews, but a lot of people. Like, let's see, somebody actually made mention of this in the chat when I first got here. So let me just give him a shout out. So Sea Lord of Bravados says the Outer Worlds 2 is such a cozy Obsidian RPG. Absolutely loving it. And the gunplay is really good, much like it was in Starfield. So, of course, yes, he's not wrong. The gunplay is something that you are going to immediately notice that is much, much better. And, there has been some talk about them actually sitting down with the former 343 studios. And, of course, that was, now they're Halo Studios. But my brother from another, welcome back, brother. How you feeling?
Feeling good, man. Feeling good. Glad to be here. Super busy, but I definitely wanted to make sure I can hop on. So, man, thank you so much for having me, bro. Appreciate you.
Well, listen, we're going to be here. We're going to get in and out in about an hour, maybe 70 minutes with outros. We got two major topics to get into. You got some of my it's one of many videos that I have made in my 80 plus hours into the Outer Worlds 2. My achievements still have not popped, unfortunately. So I have 4 achievements. I don't know how to make the rest pop, but I would imagine that, I've reached out to Obsidian. I do have a direct connection to them. So I'm just waiting. I would imagine that I have to unpop or I have to unlock one achievement and then they all will fall in line. At least I
unlocked. I'm in the same boat. It did not pop for me. Ninja Gaiden also didn't pop for me.
Okay.
So it's wild because normally it does. Keeper was fine. Keeper,
yes, yeah.
Keeper unlocked in real time, but these other ones, I don't know what happened.
I'll say this: yes, it's a bit disappointing, but it's not to the point where it's gonna like steal the thunder from these two games.
No, the games are amazing. Achievements, I don't give a shit about.
Look. I know this is not a topic, but you have to tip your cap, ladies and gentlemen. I know there's going to be people in the chat that absolutely refuse to give Xbox any credit. And you know what? That's fine. I'm not going to fight with you folks, right? But my God, can we just stop for a second and smell the roses and actually throw those roses at the feet of Xbox Game Studios? They released Keeper, followed by Ninja Gaiden, and then, of course, The Outer Worlds 2. And they're all bangers. They're all bangers. And you know what's even more interesting, C Money? They're all different genres. One's a walking type of sim where it's telling a story.
Puzzle type game.
Right? Puzzle walking sim. You got one of the best action games of the year. It's gory, it's fast, it's slick. And then you got one of the best RPGs, whether you play it in first person, like I started, and finished in third person, which is the way to play. Sorry. I mean, how could you not like that? But you know what, C Money?
It's a banger. It's a banger. You did your review, right? What'd you score it?
9.5. 9 out of 5. There were some little ticks that knocked off the perfect score. I think it could be fixed with an update, but other than that, I found it to be absolutely brilliant. The writing,
Yeah,
the
this one
graphics.
was a 10 for me, man.
Oh, nice. That's strong.
For me, the little picks were not overshadowed. Like the strength of the game is too overwhelming for me.
It's
Like
very strong.
like the stuff that was like little just faded away. Like I just
Can
couldn't.
I ask you
And
something
I
though?
see like you play like Doodle in third person, where
You know,
I,
you know what?
it was cool, but I got right back into my first person bag
So
with
here's
this.
the thing. Funny quick story, ladies and gentlemen. I might have told this before, but I'm going to tell it to C Money for the first time. So right now I'm at a conundrum because I don't know whether or not I want to not give the nod to Avowed or Outer Worlds
Mm,
2. Those are my two picks for game of the year for me personally.
yes,
And for
similar, same.
Avowed, I tried it in third person and I was like, I'd rather go first person. So I played the game in first person and then I watched Jamie Moran's gameplay. See, I did the wizard first person. Jamie Moran did the third person melee. And I thought about
Yep.
I said, I think I played this game wrong. Like I really think I missed out. So I'm gonna roll a new character and play it from scratch as soon as I get ahead of some of the games that are in front of me. So
Yep.
when I started the review on the Outer Worlds 2, it was in first person, and in the 8 hour mark, I'm like, this is supposed to have a third person. So I started playing with the settings, and I picked the 40 frames versus the 30 or the 60. I liked it like right in the middle was perfect, the 40 frames, and I did the same thing for Avowed. And then I started playing in third person. I said, "Oh my god, this game is so freaking good in third person." And the rest of the time, I think it was 60 plus hours in third person. I loved every second of it. What an amazing experience, man. Honestly.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
So
Yeah,
you so
this
you
was
did first person the whole game.
I did, and unfortunately, I didn't get to do like as long as I wanted to. Like
You
I
well,
beat the
you kind
game,
of
but I
hate to say
had to
you're
because I was
rushing through a
doing. We
review.
did 3
Yeah.
reviews like back to back, so and they were overlapping on top of each. Like I had 3 codes at the same time
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah.
to do the review. So I put about I think it was like between 35 and 40 hours.
Strong.
That was with the
Great.
main game and with side content, but similar to Avowed, where I mean Avowed, that was the only game at that time, so I put 70 hours into just the review, and then I went back and re-rolled immediately. Um, and this is similar where I want to go back and finish. So I'm like gonna load before the point of no return, and
Yes.
then just go do everything that I wanted to
That's
do
smart, dude.
because I
It's just
saved like a
waiting for you to
billion
go do, so
times.
you
So
didn't lose anything, unless,
no,
of
no, because
course,
it's
you kind
I'm
of stepped on the toes of some factions that once you cross that line, you're considered an outlaw. Yeah, I had that happen actually.
I think I played the game perfectly. I'm not gonna lie. No, everybody was happy with me. I didn't screw anybody over. My guy was a model, I guess,
I had
law
that
guy,
happen up until the last 6 hours. Something I don't know if it was something that I did or something that happened that was beyond my control, but I had a point where there were two factions. No spoilers here, folks. I'm not gonna ruin anything for you. Where I got to a point where I was just about to get them to talk, and something happened, and I was like, I reloaded the save like 3 or 4 times. Like, what did I do? I just finished have such and such give me a ring kind of a thing,
yep.
and it wouldn't crack, it wouldn't unlock, and I'm like, what did I do? So I went back and I went back and I'm like, you know what? I'm reviewing this game. I got to get it done. So unfortunately, there were some things that happened that it wound up going okay. It's fine. It's fine. But look, a big
Yes,
thank you to
sir.
everyone once again that's here checking us out. We have 200 people watching live. See Money, look, when I say that I am an evidence-based conversation podcaster, I simply mean that I like to use other people's reviews or articles, and of course, shout out those articles by putting them in the show notes. So if something I say based on the article you want to read, you give them a click, right? So it's me forwarding the work of others. And that's something that we really like to do here at Double Barrel Gaming. On top of that, I enjoy going back and pulling articles from yesteryear regarding certain things that were overlooked or not made a big deal of, but something like, well, for instance, Matt Booty. Now, this article comes the way of videogameschronicles.com. And to be fair, I still like what they do. I'm a little disappointed with Andy Robinson, who kind of really went out of his way to kind of act like an a-hole on the socials the other day. And that's really, I can't listen. I don't know him. Like, he's going to invite me over to his house for dinner, but I've met Andy several times and he was a proper gentleman. We had great conversations about his work and the work of his authors for, VGC. I walked away, happy to have met him. And last week, he kind of got himself in a little bit of hot water because he got very pointed. And it might be, listen, folks, when people sometimes do things out of character, it's because they feel like they're being pushed. And I don't know if that was the case for Andy or not. But I like the work that he does. I think he's a proper gentleman because I've met him numerous times. So my thoughts are going to remain the way they are. He just had a bad day. But why I'm bringing up VGC, C Money, is because it's an article that I'm using for today's show. And it's surrounding something that Matt Booty said. Now, look, Matt Booty, he's one of the few executives I have met. I have not met him yet. He is occasionally in the limelight. The last two major times that he was in the limelight, counting this one that we're going to talk about, was in 2021 at one of the award shows. He was heard or overheard speaking about, and that was in 2021, where they have so many games they don't know where to put them. And unfortunately, that was reported, and he did say it, but he was taken out of context because he was talking about, what was going to happen in the next couple of years rather than in 2021 where they had a really bad year. So, of course, everybody reported on it and everybody piled on. Well, last week, we had Matt Booty, and I think it's actually might have been. So I got the article here is from October 25th, so it's just a couple of days ago, where it goes on to say, C Money, that Xbox's biggest competition, according to Matt Booty, isn't another console, but it's TikTok, movies, and other short form content. Now, like I said, just for the sake of having the evidence-based conversation that I like using, I literally copy and pasted the title and I put it, and I have my listing right here. I have my notes right here. So Tweaktown, Gaming Bolt, Game Rant, Kotaku, Eurogamer, all or most of the anti-Xbox publications, including IGN, kind of went a little difficult, kind of went hard, pause, on Matt Booty. Pause again. There you go, double pause.
That's real wild. That's real wild.
Regarding this statement. So we're going to get into the statement, and he's right about some things here. As a matter of fact, I think he's 100% right. But what's very interesting, C Money, is that evidence-based conversation that I like to bring about. Now, this particular interview, right, that I'm going to read for you verbatim, is something that happened a couple of years ago. As a matter of fact, it was in, I believe, 2024 is when this conversation happened. And it happened with former PlayStation head Sean Layden. And this is what Sean had to say. Now, he's been in the news right along with Mike Ybarra. And we're going to get to Mike for a second because Mike, of course, does what Mike has been doing the last couple of months, is trying to remain relevant and in the zeitgeist of the gaming conversation. And instead of actually having adult man-like conversations with the community, he himself has acted like a 12-year-old child who is someone with a lot of money. We all know that Mike Ybarra is a millionaire. And his 12-year-oldness has been coming out because he's been siding with some of the biggest trolls on the interwebs. Now, we're not going to name those names because they're assholes. And I'm not about that smoke. But All you have to do is go look up and you'll see who Mike has been talking to. And it's pretty embarrassing. Well, interestingly enough, this Sean Layden interview, I'm going to read it verbatim. Former PlayStation head Sean Layden stated that the video game industry is struggling with the rise of short form medias like TikTok, which is pulling audiences away from traditional gaming due to their shorter attention spans. He argued that this isn't part of a larger issue where the industry's focus on expensive, lengthy, live service games is becoming unsustainable, leading to a quote collapse of creativity and a lack of innovation mid-tier experiences. Layden proposed solution is his solution to it is shorter, more focused games that can maintain a player's intense engagement similar to classic game design. And you know what's interesting? This was spun as a positive article. Oh my God, former PlayStation head man Sean Layden says this. But then again, you move over to what Matt Booty had to say, and it's another one of those conversations that was not only made into a mountain out of a molehill, it falls in line with two pieces of story run content in the last couple of weeks, C Money. And that was one that took the interwebs by storm, dev kit pricing for Xbox going up. Oh my God, what are we going to do? And then on top of that, if that story wasn't enough for you and a bit of a head scratcher, they went into the backroom conversation of what Xbox is expected as per Amy Hood, and that was the 30% profit. These are stories that are negative. They're Xbox negative stories. And instead of running with stories that, I don't know, like we talked about, they released 3 games in a matter of 8 days that are all bangers. This is what they're running with. Simon, I want to get your thoughts on what Matt Booty had to say, because I think he's right. I think when you look at the kids today, we're the old guard, right? You have kids. You understand. You yourself understand that your kids' attention spans are shorter. So they're not going to sit in for a 60 or 70-hour romp like you and the missus. That's something that old people do. The new kids today are sitting on TikTok. They're watching YouTube. They're in threads. They're all these different places where their attention is. They pick up a game like Fortnite. They play for 15 minutes. They go back to TikTok. Matt Booty is right. And I think what set people off is the fact that, oh, God forbid, an executive should not look at Sony and be shivering in their boots. Look at your thoughts, man.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, first off, the benefit I have as well is that I have basically 2 generations of kids.
Okay.
So like I have older kids who were before the TikTok times, and we didn't let them get involved in any of that until they were pretty much in high school. And they although they do use TikTok and such, they're not like they do have the attention span, right? Like they can't, like my son plays long form games and he's, fine with it, no problem. And then you do have the younger ones. Now we don't let our kids go on TikTok. So like the closest they get is to YouTube, like shorts, right? So yeah, like I think they are definitely more entertained by that. But I think, I think for us, we're just a little different household. We don't necessarily allow that too much. So
that's good stuff,
but
man. Good to hear
but
it.
the vast majority of people out in these streets, yes, right. That we said it right away when this came up, and we talked about it on our show. He's talking about TikTok, but it's not literally only TikTok, right? He's talking about TikTok. He's talking about YouTube Shorts. He's talking about Instagram. He's talking about anything. It really boils down to anything that takes your time away from playing a game, right? which is that's just life in general, right? Like that's always been the thing. You could look at your family as fighting against gaming, right? Because you want to spend time with your family, you want to spend time with your wife, and you guys watch certain things and do certain things, and in that time you're not going to be gaming, right? So you know listen, as much as you know the all these companies, um they want us to always be gaming, right? Like that's their mind, right?
Hmm.
Like it's just like if you're not, they want you to nonstop be on gaming. And I think at the end of the day, it's that wouldn't be healthy, right? Like you need to balance life, right? You need to be doing other things. I think what that doesn't change the fact that all these other things are in fact competing for your time, and for a company who is dedicated to gaming and they're looking to increase their numbers and do all this stuff. Yeah, they look at all of these things. Specifically Matt Booty, as you know, like they originally, um you know in the beginning of when they were coming up as Xbox, Nintendo and PlayStation were the biggest, you know um their biggest competition, right? And then over time, as the company grew and all that other stuff, and then Xbox kind of got itself into a position where it really, from Xbox and Microsoft, stopped being a PlayStation or Nintendo once everything kind of leveled out and you kind of just saw where everything was, right? PlayStation was going to sell the most of the hardcore consoles. Nintendo was going to sell the most consoles in general when it comes to the Switch and the Wii and stuff like that. So like things like that, that was a certain level. And at that point, once things kind of leveled out, that's where you got the quotes from Phil where he was like, it's honestly like PlayStation is not what we stay up at night thinking about, right? It's about other players coming in like an Amazon or Google who have the money that we do,
Yep.
who can actually compete with us, because as we all know here, PlayStation cannot compete with Xbox as far as what they're able to get and what they're able to give, right? They can't do a Game Pass. They can't do that, right? They can't buy crazy amounts of big studios. They cannot compete in that way, right? It's always in Xbox's court and in Microsoft's court what they want to do and what they will be allowed to do by the government, right? Those are the only two things, right? It's their desire and what the government would allow that would, stop Microsoft from doing more and more, right? So there is no competition in that respect. Um, so now that they have conquered, I mean, we just got the news about Amazon, right? This is like the final bow out where they were worried about Amazon and Google. Shortly after that, Google was out the door with Stadia. They
And
they
Amazon is
put up
gone.
the white
They just
flag,
closed
and
their biggest
now
game, dude.
Amazon is bowing out. Now, are they going to shut everything down? No, but I just don't think in their mind they're not. I think they thought that they might come out and compete with the big dogs, similar
Yes.
to how Google Stadia was ramping up to have a first party studio to make first party games and fight the big dogs, and then they just Google got out as soon as they saw what it would require.
Yep.
And to Amazon's credit, they not being part of this industry, they spent some money, bought some studios, invested in games, released stuff, and it's either one, taking too long to get to where they would need it to be to continue the investment, or two, it's been long enough and they're seeing that they're never going to quite get to where they would need to be in order for Amazon as an entity for it to keep making sense for them to be involved in a major way, right? Um, and so essentially that ship has sailed as well, right? Like that hurdle has been crossed. So now what's left, right? What is the next layer of competition for Microsoft and Xbox when they think about it? It's time, right? And it's about how can you go ahead and have people who want to balance a life with gaming to choose gaming
Yeah.
over the other forms of entertainment, right? And I don't know that that's their problem to figure out, and those people who are invested in the idea of TikTok. Like I don't use TikTok. I'm not.
Me either.
I'm not
I didn't
part
even
of
have an
that.
account, for crying out loud.
Yeah, I mean, we made an account because we figured On Point should have an account, but like we don't really, we were uploading stuff a little bit, but then we kind of just stopped. But like it's just not like I don't frequent it. I don't use it as my app or something of choice. It's basically Twitter, right? That's where I, pretty much just if I'm gonna go on my phone, it's Twitter or YouTube.
That's me too.
But
Those are the two that I actually use. Yep.
yeah, that's it. That's where I'm at. So I just think all he was just trying to say, and obviously they're gonna cry and take all this stuff out of context and make it a bigger deal. I think any rational person can see what he's talking about, right? And I think that he can make a statement and assume he's talking to people who are capable of understanding that at the end of the day, time is what they're all battling for.
Yeah.
Right, that's what it is. And if you think about, you know it's crazy when it comes to gaming because time is so like taken over already by a certain group of games, right? When you look at your Call of Duties of the world, your Minecrafts of the world, your Fortnites of the world, your Robloxes of the world, right? I would say those are the four, right? Those are the top four games that exist that are taking the time of gaming for most people, right? For the vast majority of gamers that are out there, that's where they're living their lives. So like you're battling, any other game you make is in gaming battling those four every single time because the time that is being invested in those, you have to pull those people away to get them to play your stuff, right? So you already have an uphill battle when you have gamers, right? When you have people who are choosing it. Everything else is, well, you know, if you have people who much rather just stay on their phone, like how do you get them, right? How do you get them to get off of that and go play a game? Those are questions that they're asking and trying to sort out and see what they could do. And again, that's honestly that's their problem. I'm not really concerned with how they figure all that out. But at the end of the day, I think it's just pretty clear that he is referencing the idea that time that people are spending outside of gaming is the biggest competition for them, right? They want those people to move over to gaming instead of being on their phone. How do they do that? You can see what they're talking about because their entire point right now is they're trying to meet people where they're at, right? So it's very easy for you to grab your phone and scroll, right? What they're trying to figure out is, well, if we make a handheld, is it just as easy for you to reach over and grab your handheld as opposed to turning on the TV and putting on a game or going to sit at your computer and turning on a game?
Yep.
Is the handheld gonna help with that problem? Is the handheld being somewhere that's around you gonna allow you to be like, you know what, instead of grabbing my phone, I'm gonna grab my handheld, right? And that is what they're trying to sort out. That's what they're trying to figure out, and you can see that it makes sense. So at the end of the day, that's why Xbox is looking at it from this much bigger scope where they're looking at the end of the day, how do they reach more people? And it's not by telling them that we have the games are exclusive on our box. So that's how we're going to reach more people, because if we have exclusives, clearly those people who are on TikTok will say, well, Xbox got these exclusives, so then I must go and play, right? No, right? Exclusives, we already know, don't really have much of an impact on anything anymore.
Not
We
like they
already
used
know.
to. It's something from
No,
yesteryear, brother.
it's not even in the discussion anymore. The people who are choosing PlayStation are already choosing PlayStation, not because of an exclusive. It's because that's just what they know. If they were going based off of games and things like that, they would they would only choose the games that align with them the most. And frankly, PlayStation is barely making games, right? So at the end of the day, there's way more choices. They would go with PC, they would go with Xbox, they would go with something else. PlayStation's really not even in that conversation much anymore when it comes to their games, right? Once a year is not enough for, consider a TikTok world, right? Where people are looking for stimulation on a constant basis. Xbox is fulfilling that in a way that no one has ever done it, where they're constantly delivering us new games. They're constantly feeding our Game Pass, right? They're constantly giving us more. So if you are not satisfied with what you're playing right now, no worries. In a couple of weeks, there'll be something else going in the Game Pass, and you'll have another thing to try out. And they are understanding that that's the world that they have to live in. They have to be constantly giving, constantly feeding for people to be able to be like, okay, this is going to make me want to play because there's another game coming out that I want to try. There's another thing that I'm getting in Game Pass that I want to try. If that conversation is, well, there's another game that I want to buy, that can only go so far, right? Because there's only so many times in a month that somebody's going to say, oh, there's another game this month that I'm going to buy, right? Because unfortunately, people's budgets are not unlimited, and
It's
they're
not
going to
even so
have to
much
make
that.
choices.
I mean, just look at the report from Matt Piscatella from a couple of weeks ago. How many games are people buying per year? Like 2.
One or two, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's taking it to the broader spectrum of like everybody. I'm talking about even if you just boil it down to like more of the harder core gamers, you could be the hardest core gamer. If your wallet doesn't allow you to
There you
buy
go.
every game, then it doesn't matter how hardcore you are, right? There's only so many times in a month that most people are going to be able to say, oh, there's this new game coming out that I want to, play, and I'm going to buy it, right? In Xbox's world, they've essentially giving you an option to be out of that conversation and be into a conversation where for a fixed, dollar amount, you no longer have to do that. Games come to you and you get to kind of explore, right? That is their way of trying to combat that from the harder core scale, right? Giving us constant games and things like that. But the real answer for them going against, the TikToks of the world and people's time is putting your stuff everywhere. You want to put your stuff everywhere. You want to make it where those PlayStation players who don't have anything exciting coming out from now till Wolverine, and I know Saros is coming out, and I said exciting. I didn't say just some other random shit
That'll sell 1 million copies, and that's probably about it.
What will sell 1 million copies? Saros?
Saros, yeah.
Yeah, maybe in 5 years. It's definitely not doing that shit anytime soon. We already know that level, that type of game is just not for the masses.
Hey, can we
right?
shout out Paris who dropped in to say Xbox is dead, long live TikTok?
Oh, facts. Paris, that's it. TikTok is it. But I mean, look, let's call a spade, right? In the game of time, gaming is losing, right?
Yes.
Everybody is doing other things before gaming. When you statistically speaking, right? Like when you look at the numbers, way more people are on TikTok and doing all these other things than people are spending their time, gaming on a consistent basis. So, I think the plan is in effect, and I think they're moving in this direction, which is to just put everything everywhere. I mean, shit, you heard Satya, talk about the different places, but he brought up TV again, right? With the idea that like, yes, like just your TV alone, like they want to figure out how to make this where you can experience it wherever, whenever you want. And I think the handheld is a huge step in the right direction.
Yep.
Again, having it there when you go, your phone and your handheld next to each other, at the very least, you have a decision to make in that moment, right? Whereas if you're not in front of your console, if you're not in front of your PC and your phone is the only thing you have next to you, there is no choice, right? It's I'm just gonna grab my phone real quick. But if your handheld's right there, there's a chance, right? There's a chance where you might say, all right, I'm gonna grab this and I'm gonna play this as opposed to, going on the phone. So I don't agree with all these crazy takes about what he said as some type of negative. I think these people are just obviously looking for something to
Pro
say, right?
engagement, brother. That's what
Yeah,
it
they
is.
all just want to say
Yeah.
something negative or try to act like they're like somehow Xbox is out of touch or doesn't understand. And no, they understand way more than you do. They have all the numbers, they see everything of gotta understand. And I I know that people don't like to hear this because people think they're the main characters in the world, right? And you're not. Okay, you're the main character in your life alone. But as soon as you start talking to people outside of yourself, you're no longer the main character. Okay, you're a very, very small portion of that. So however much knowledge you think you have, I promise you, these companies who are spending billions of dollars on research and doing everything that they're doing to study and analyze what's going on, they know what people are spending their time on, and that's why they're trying to do this. And I say they're spending billions of dollars because it's the truth. They're spending massive amounts of money on information, right? They want to make sure they know as much as humanly possible. There's a reason why Sony's slower to move, right? Because they're still in the billions of dollars, right? So for them, spending billions of dollars on data is really hard to do in comparison to a $1 trillion, $4 trillion company, right? So excuse me, at the end of the day, it really is not an issue. I think I saw we said it on our show, for sure, that time was what he's referencing, right? Time is what he's referencing.
100%.
I know I saw Paris on his Twitter doing his hot take saying, he thinks he's referencing time, right? And I think most people who are rational and have the ability to think a little bit, and not just try to be, hot take Sally, will be able to go ahead and come to that same conclusion, right? And is he specifically referencing TikTok only? Is he saying TikTok,
No.
that's it, nothing else around TikTok matters? YouTube Shorts, which is another hole that people get lost in, Instagram scrolling, right? There's so many other outlets that are essentially the same, right? Are essentially the same. Um, he doesn't need to sit there and name everything. That's why he said TikTok. You know why? Because most people know TikTok. So they can
Yes.
understand and wrap their head around the fact that when he says TikTok, now I don't use TikTok. So for me, that doesn't hit the same. For me, I'm able to go and look at everything else. But somebody who only is on TikTok all the time outside of whatever else they do, then maybe for them, they hear TikTok, they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense, right? But again, if you have any ability to think for yourself and not fall into this hive mind movement against Xbox
There you
said something
go.
so they're bad, you would easily be able to understand it. And the fact that we have to do this, and I know there's people who be in the chats who be like, why are you guys even talking about this? Because it's nothing burger. People should just understand that, but people don't, right? So sadly, you do need someone somewhere who has the ability to speak to at least a small group of people and be like, hey guys, listen, hello, meet common sense. Common sense says that he's not saying anything stupid or wrong. He's literally telling you, okay, that time is the competition, man. That's what it is. Accept that and don't think it's any deeper than them just figuring out it's it's their business. They have to figure out how to get you to want to spend your time in their ecosystem, whether
Yes.
that's on an Xbox, whether that's on a PC, whether that's playing Minecraft on PlayStation or Outer Worlds 2 on PlayStation. They don't give a crap. As long as you're logging in and playing something that's related to them, that's where they want you to be. And that matters to them. And that's what they're going to do. And that's the way they're always going to look at it. So any other thoughts outside of that are irrelevant. You're just making shit up to go ahead and do that. I had a conversation recently with a prominent pony, I would say, or at least somebody that I thought was a prominent pony. And it was pretty, cordial. There wasn't anything crazy, and there was no
That's good.
nasty stuff
That's
going
always
on, which is
nice.
great. Yeah, it was actually refreshing. I didn't think I thought it might go somewhere, but it didn't. But the takes are the same, right? Like it's the same stuff that are discussed that are like the same kind of bullshit narratives
Yeah.
like that are out there, and it's like we need to get past the bullshit. I know that's the engagement, right? I know that's there's a group of people who are waiting for someone to say negative shit about Xbox because they're not on Xbox, and they're upset that their narrative is changing, that exclusives are a thing of the past, and it's because the world is telling Xbox that that's what it is, right? And you guys are upset that Xbox is choosing to go that way, right? That's the problem. They want to see Xbox have some pain brought to them, because if they can't talk about their PlayStation as the definitive, way to do things, and their exclusives or the sales, if none of that matters, then their entire online persona dies, right? If they don't have that to say, then they don't have anything to say, right? And that is a problem for them. So they cling so tightly to it. And I get it for them. I mean, it's change is hard for people, right? But at a certain point, you got to kind of see what's what. And all these people, PlayStation, Nintendo, everybody's fighting for the same thing, which is the time, right? It's just is what it is. And like any other version of that conversation is just ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous, it's dumb, and sadly it's a waste of time. But we got to do it. We got to talk about it.
Well, you're not wrong. And I do appreciate the idea that, we can come here like adults, have a conversation about something that it's a story, and it's a story that was written numerous times throughout the publication. So obviously it's a story that people wanted to talk about, and it's a story that I'm happy to have had a conversation with you about. But you know what, see money, I want to move on to the next topic. Now, this is, of course, another, originally written topic for the show specifically. And, see, money, you and I haven't had an opportunity to sit down and talk about all of this next generation Xbox news. And it does go right back to something that we knew for a while, right? We know that they're working on an OEM device that is rumored to be coming out next year. We also know that there are plans, and these are rumors, folks, right? They are rumored to have two SKUs next generation, just like this one, where there is going to be a powerful beast, and there's going to be a more financially friendly entry into next generation in what could be a dockable handheld like the Switch. Now, is this going to happen? Well, folks, we obviously don't know. We're 2 years plus away from Xbox releasing new hardware. Now, next year's hardware, which could be this OEM device that everyone's talking about, it could be from Asus. And again, I have pushed that rumor because it's common sense. They've worked with Asus to get out the pair of handhelds that are partnered hardware. Why wouldn't they work with them to put out a what could be an under the TV box that is a preview of what Xbox is going to be doing the following year? Now, granted, this is all rumors, folks. But a lot of the conversation, C Money, came the way of something that happened specifically with Satya Nadella. Right now, he talks about he himself is being excited for the next generation console. And why is he excited for it? Because they're going to be innovating, meaning that it's going to be a hybrid, like we have been talking about for about a year. But that's actually not the focus of today's conversation. It is the jumping off point, because you know what I have seen I have seen people, and he's a journalist that I don't always agree with, but I do like some of the stuff he writes. Paul Tassi, you know who Paul is, so do I. And he has, of course, at times gotten himself in trouble with the Xbox community with some of his, I think, really bad takes. But he's had a couple of really good ones, and even I consider him to be like a very stout, Xbox, I don't know even how to put it. He puts more pressure on Xbox than he does anyone. And I don't know if that is for the click or not, but he is
Well,
one of
by
many.
definition, for the click for him because it's all about Forbes. He needs to
Yeah,
get the
well,
click.
if
That's his
Forbes is a
job.
legitimate paper, so obviously, he wants to keep his job, so he wants to keep the clicks coming in. So maybe that's what it is. Look, I'm not making any suggestions. What I am saying, C Money, is this: what I've noticed in the last couple of days since this uh, basic confirmation of what the next Xbox is going to be, because you got to remember, if you go back a couple of weeks, we had the report over a weekend that thanks to many people in the community like Shinobi 602, who reported from a rumor that Xbox wasn't doing hardware, right? And then on a Sunday, a spokesperson for Microsoft had to come out and say, no, we are doing hardware. And then surprisingly enough, you saw the interview with Sarah Bond on Channel 7, where they were talking about the handheld. And specifically, she made mention of, well, this is the room that we are currently prototyping and, working on the next generation of Xbox. Then she had that interview with that gentleman who has almost 2 million subs. I don't remember who it is. I've never heard of him, but that's because YouTube is so vast. Then you had Phil Spencer get interviewed by Famitsu while he was in Japan, and the whole conversation of next generation hardware came out for the second time. Well, the other day, while you saw the interview with Satya Nadella, he himself, the CEO of Microsoft, confirmed that they are not only making hardware, that he's excited for it because they're going to be innovating on what a console looks like, acts like, and they're going to merge it with PC. Okay, great. Since these three situations where it was interview after interview after interview, C Money, I have been seeing a lot of conversation within the games community about excitement for the next Xbox. And one of the stories that popped up right before the Satya Nadella interview was something that was written by Jez Corden of Windows Central. And he referred to hearing that the online or the multiplayer paywall was a potentially a decision that was going to be removed from the new consoles, and it makes sense why that is. We're not going to get into that in particulars, but again, another jumping off point. Well, I saw Paul Tassi talk about his excitement that if this is the next Xbox, they might actually have something. Xbox News for Koreans on Twitter. I follow them. I think they follow me. They said this: if the next generation Xbox supports all PC games, including Steam, offers the convenience of a console, features a design that fits seamlessly on or next to a TV stand or desk, and can also function like a regular Windows PC, it has all of the right ingredients to attract interest from where, see money, Asia, which I've been saying for years is their forward thinking. Yes, they know that Xbox has a big following here in the States, but with Play Anywhere, with being able to, like we talked about earlier, you being able to decide where you want to play your PC, your tablet, your TV, your new handheld, or the new Xbox, you're going to be able to pick up and play anywhere without problems. Play Anywhere is the stepping forward that they're looking for. I think that this next console, see money, because of the direction, and again, this is a lot of moving parts. So of course I could get something wrong, and if I did, so be it. I'll be the first one to come out and say I got it wrong. But I don't think that I am, see money. I think what they are doing is marching forward on what could be a defining step in what Xbox does in the future, where it's going to look and act like a console, but be very different in the way that it interacts with other stores like Steam, like Epic, like Good Old Games. And you're going to get the convenience of console, but you're going to get the power of PC. I think that they are years and years ahead of Sony. I want to get your thoughts on this, man.
I mean, I, I mean, they're changing everything, right? They're changing, they're leading as always. Look, at the end of the day, we already have what next gen essentially is going to look like in our hands with the Xbox Ally X.
Yes.
We already have it. Those of us who have it already see how this works and already see how beneficial it is and how it's going to change gaming for forever for console gamers, right? PC gamers already had this scenario. But Xbox gamers are now going to be in a world where Xbox has to compete with the other stores, right? Just like Steam did when it was coming up, right? Any store on PC is capable of existing. People can buy their games from whatever store that's there. People can run their games or whatever, you know, on whatever platform exists on PC. And Xbox now will have to do that, right? Xbox is going to have a way of allowing people on a console to access these stores that live on PC, right? And the thing is that for the vast majority of people, I think this is an important thing. This conversation they're having is with the hardcore players, right? With the hardcore
Yes.
people, the people who follow this, right? Who follow the industry. The vast majority of people who go to pick up the next gen Xbox in the future are never really going to even know that they're going to be going into a PC space, right? The vast majority of people, even if they know, will have no interest, right? They'll pick up their Xbox, they'll buy their games on the Xbox store, they'll load up their previous purchases and just play on the box like normal. But essentially, what this next gen is going to be the consoles you have now and that you know and love with the back door left open, right? They're going to make it where before Windows was running the Xbox, right? A form of Windows, right? Is running the Xbox. It's just closed off, right? It's all the back end and the front end is what you see in as a console, right? When you turn on your Xbox, it loads into the Xbox dashboard and everything happens in that space. And they adapted settings and all these things into this UI that works well and it's intuitive and it's easy to use. You're going to have that same exact experience in the next generation, except when you go to that browser that exists in the Xbox experience, you go to your Edge browser, you can go to Steam and download Steam. And instead of getting some type of message or, nothing happening when you click it, it's going to download it and it's going to, allow you to open it up and it will populate into a new full screen, just like if you were opening a game, right? The full screen will take over the UI and you'll be in the Steam ecosystem right there. And then from there, you can purchase games, download games. Then when you go back to your Xbox dashboard, those games will now be visible on your dashboard and you'll click them just like you click any other game. And in the background, and again, we've already experienced this with the Xbox Ally X. In the background, it'll open Steam, it'll do everything that Steam needs to do in the background, and you'll get this little square on your screen that says launching game. And while you're waiting for that game to launch, everything will be happening on the back end, and then you'll load into your game. And the average person will be none the wiser that they've just went ahead and, played a Steam game on their Xbox. And that same thing will happen with the Epic Store or the EA Store, EA Play, whatever they call it. Wherever you want to buy your games and play your games, you're going to be able to do that. Now, I know that the people in there who are the pocket watchers of the world, who want to make sure that Microsoft is making as much money as possible. Clearly, that's the only reason they would question it. They go ahead and they talk about how, oh, I gotta take this call. All right, this is work call. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah,
right,
take care of business. So so what C Money is talking about, the pocket watchers. We'll finish his thoughts when he gets back here. Is that, yes, there is a very large community that's really concerned about the $4 trillion company, on how they're going to make their money back. And look, folks, here's the thing. They have, now granted, I have said this before, some of the people making the decisions ain't right. And again, I don't have a business degree. Some of the stuff seems common sense, sure. Some of the stuff is maybe over my mohawk. That's fine. But I do find it odd that there are so many people pocket watching specifically Xbox, and that's besides the community. You know, the gaming community on the socials, like Paris Lilly, who's in the chat. So Paris, thanks so much for popping in, brother. Super appreciate it, and great work of all of your coverage recently. He says all the time that social media isn't real, and he's not wrong. It is a bizarro place to hang out. I do my advertising for the show. I interact with the community. I block and mute the trolls because I ain't got time for that at 55 years old. But look, I just think that when you look at the way Xbox is moving, they are, and I really mean this, are leaps and bounds ahead of what anyone else is doing. Sony is the current market leader when you talk about console sales. But really, when you start talking about money, and I'm not here to talk about money because I don't give a shit, folks. I'm not here to worry about how much Microsoft is making. What I'm concerned about is what they're putting into Xbox Game Pass. What and what they're doing for the future console. Because I'm buying what could be $1,000 console. Now, if that's not in your wheelhouse for many reasons, I get it, but I'm an Xbox guy. One of the things that I think has not really been brought up about what this, I'm going to give you the mic in a second. This is another point of contention. And again, it's not being console warring. And I want to get your thoughts on this as well. So one of the things that has been used against Xbox, especially if you're someone that has a nice rig, like if you have a nice PC, mid-range or otherwise, you don't actually need an Xbox, right? You can simply play games from the Windows Store or from Steam, right? And you're happy with that. You can play Xbox Game Pass for PC, and it's just as good. But what's interesting about the next generation console, outside of it just being a merging of PC and console, and for the common folk like me, like I'm a common folk, like I don't want to know the minutia of PC gaming. I don't care, right? I just want to pop on a game and let all the work be done magically behind the wall, behind the curtain, like the Wizard of Oz, and don't show me what's behind there. I just want to play my game. Well, that is what is expected with this next generation console. But you're going to get the convenience of all of these other stores. But see, that's not the only thing, C Money. The other part of the conversation, and this is the really big one, a guy like me who currently has every console, enjoys and supports all three platforms, I will not need to buy a PlayStation 6. You know why that is? Because as we get closer to the PlayStation 6 launch, I am telling you folks, Sony is going to get close to day and day, if not even sooner than that. They are leaving too much money on the table, and Ghosts of Yotai is a perfect example of a game that launched on the PS5 that nobody decided to show up for. 2.64 million copies, where they've already shipped over 80 million consoles. That is not a good ratio, ladies and gentlemen. It's just not. Is the game profitable? Yes, it is. It had a $60 million budget, and you don't have to be a mathematician to figure it out. But a guy like me will not be buying a PlayStation 6 because if the games aren't day and date, let's say there is a 3-month gap between the release of Spider-Man 4 on PS6 and on Steam, I'll just wait. I don't have FOMO like that. So I'll wait for it. Continue your thoughts, brother.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you're saying as well. And I think the hard part that for them to wrap their head around is that like Xbox and PC are like cousins. You know what I'm saying? Like like they're part of the same family, right? So yes, I have the Series X and I have PC with 4090 in it, right? I have the ability to decide where I do it, and most of the time it's location, right? It's where I am at any given moment in time. If I'm somewhere where my PC is and I can just hop in and use that, I'll do that. If I'm somewhere where my console is, that's where I'll play it on the console. If I'm somewhere where I need to play it on a handheld, before I would grab a handheld and stream it on GeForce Now and or Xbox Cloud and call it a day. Now I have my Xbox LIX and I'm playing natively right on that because it's the graphics and everything that it's producing is really well done. And most of the time I'm 100% satisfied with it, and I don't need to stream to satisfy that itch now. So I think that is a big deal. But going back to what I was just kind of talking about with this idea of Xbox now allowing you to, you know, buy games on different stores and play it on your device. The thing that people are talking about is, well, they're not going to make any money from those sales. And I think number one, I think the easiest answer to that is if you're a gamer talking and not a board member at Microsoft or an investor in Microsoft, if you're not one of those two things, what's it to you? You know what I'm saying? What's it
Great
if the
point, dude.
$4 trillion company ran the numbers and said, yeah, we could do this? What's it to you? Because no one who's having these conversations can tell me that what Microsoft is doing for their next console and what they're doing on this handheld that we already have harms me as a consumer, right? All it does, it gives me more choice. So if I'm a gamer and I'm looking to decide who is offering me the most for my dollar, I mean, clearly there's only one answer, right? It's only Xbox. Xbox is giving you the most for your dollar, especially if you choose to partake in Game Pass. But the other conversation that they don't want to have, they want to go ahead and minimize are the fact that Xbox will now be home to and it's not by choice for a lot of these companies because they rather do it the other way, but Xbox is now going to be home. It's going to be the only console that's going to be home to a vast amount of exclusives because there's a ton of games that are only on PC that will now be on your Xbox if you so choose to, right? And that's something that it's funny because they want to minimize that, yet they're the only people out here screaming exclusives. But they're saying, well, those are PC exclusives, not Xbox exclusives. Well, if you're not a PC gamer and you're only a console gamer and you have a PlayStation and you have an Xbox or you have an Xbox, the Xbox people will be able to play those games if they so chose. If they saw a stream or their friend comes to them and says, man, have you tried this game? Oh, I have a PlayStation. Oh, it's not on PlayStation, it's on PC. Shucks. But if you're on Xbox and you have a friend who says, man, have you played this game? And you say, I have an Xbox. And they say, it's not on Xbox, it's on PC only. I guess that moment right there when you'll be able to say, actually, sir, my Xbox allows me to go play these PC games. I think that is something that it's valuable to an Xbox player because they will no longer have that concern. When PlayStation games get announced, and you see how I called it a PlayStation game, but PlayStation game get announced because it's not announced for Xbox, but it's announced for PlayStation and PC, that
There you go.
conversation also goes away,
Yep.
right? There's no more a scenario where an Xbox person has to worry about if a game is announced, is it going to come to our system? Outside of PlayStation themselves, which they've already been telling everybody that we're putting ourselves everywhere, right? We saw they hired for Xbox, people to bring games over to Xbox, and that was as like a company wide scenario. But we also now know that they are hiring people for individual studios. Like in studio now, they want people to that are going to focus on PC because they're moving away, for PC at least, moving away from it being a port to PC to it being natively designed in-house for PC, right? So with all that being the situation, and you now get to look at it from that broader scale, the very things that PlayStation people who go out there and they spend all their time talking about, they choose to ignore the reality of what this is actually going to mean for Xbox players. Now, again, the idea of exclusives and all that stuff, it doesn't matter. Xbox is providing its gamers with tons of games, and they're putting their games wherever so that those games have the best chance to succeed, the best chance to live on in future sequels and spin-offs and things like that, right? If they get a big foundation, a big fan base for a certain game, you can go ahead and invest more, right? Satya told us that the margins allow for that, right? That's why they're pushing forward and they're making sure that margins go up. If you guys all forget, they try to single out, Satya for talking about margins, and everyone wants to act like Hiroki Totoki didn't come out and say, hey, yeah, these studios we have, they're good creatively, but they don't know how to make money.
Thank you, sir.
So we're gonna make them make money. And that's why we're in a scenario where you see nothing but these par down sequels, right? Games that I truly believe, when I bought a PlayStation 5, that they were going to move things forward from where they were, not stay in the same place. And they're staying in the same place for monetary reasons, right? It's Hiroki and the gang saying, hey, you're not going to spend that much money on making all this stuff look better and play better and be better because we're not going to make any more from it. And that's a different world that you don't really want gaming to go into, but that's where they are, right? The dollars matter. And Xbox is doing what they have to do to keep things going. And at the end of the day, with Xbox moving in to this new cycle of next generation, they're bringing gaming as a whole with it, right? They're making it where more people are going to be more successful as developers because their games are going to be able to have access to a whole different group of people who, if their game was only on PC, and you now have a group of people who are going to buy an Xbox because that's the console they choose. Remember, that number may not be 80 million or 90 million or 70 million, whatever that is, but it's at least 25 to 30 million. And from what I have seen, there's not many games that sell 25 to 30 million copies, right?
Yeah.
So as much as people might try to treat it as if it's an insignificant number of people, until the vast majority of games are selling more than 30 million, having 30 million chances is still a major deal. And that's why all of these games are released, and the vast majority of them are released everywhere. The amount of games that are missing Xbox are a handful, right? Like, this is really not that many. And now going forward, Xbox eliminates that conversation. That's the future that I am excited for. I'm excited as a gamer to get the most bang for my buck and to have the most access. Farrell and I were talking on the show on Tuesday night, and we were saying, and it's really true for me, that the handheld is almost becoming my preferred way of playing.
I'm very much enjoying it. Like, I'm spending a lot of time on that thing, and I'm getting my money's worth. I'm glad to know
Yeah,
you
I
are as
mean,
well.
yeah, absolutely. I play most of the time on it now, and I'm playing everything, no matter what it is, shooters, anything, because it's all native. If the controller is essentially an Xbox controller, so I'm in my element.
Yeah.
I have the back buttons exactly what I need, so I got the back paddles, so that works for me too. So everything that I'm looking for is in my hand. And for somebody like myself who does have PC games, and I am able in that one device to go from playing my normal Xbox games that are on the Xbox PC app, but then I'm also able to play my games on Steam. And we reviewed Dying Light the Beast, and they sent it to me. I wanted it on Xbox. They sent it to me on Xbox, but there was a glitch, so it didn't unlock. So they sent me the Steam code, and I I did my review on that, and I played there. And similar to Outer Worlds, I went back and I'm playing more of the game that I missed out on because I couldn't do everything, because I really enjoyed that game. And I'm literally able on my handheld, my Xbox handheld, I'm going from my Xbox games that I want to play, and I just switch over to Steam games that I have downloaded because I can and I want to. And it just makes the experience so much easier for me. And I could just extrapolate from there. Once I have that console that is also my PC, I can easily just go from my console games to my PC games all in one spot. Yeah, that's the dream. That's the dream. And these people who go out there and take your excitement and try to shit on it by
Yeah.
saying things that don't matter, that are irrelevant. Oh, they're
Mhm.
just PC games. Oh, you have no exclusives. Fam, I am so far beyond that, and it hurts them. It
Yeah.
hurts them that I don't shed a tear for an exclusive. I don't and trust me, again, I don't know. I feel like it's stupid that I have to keep caveating it, but I will, because there's still people who are so brain dead that they refuse to acknowledge that life is this way. Yes, I was a hardcore person into the exclusive games and
Me
all this
too.
shit. Yes, that's what I was. But you know what? I don't have to be defined for the rest of my life on decisions that for me at that time made sense. You know what? Right now, they don't make sense. My life as a gamer is fulfilling. I could play wherever I want, however I want. I don't care if Sony makes money. I don't care if Microsoft makes money. I don't care. I don't subscribe to Game Pass to give Microsoft money. I subscribe to Game Pass to play all the fucking games that I get.
Yes,
That's
and you
why
get
I
too many of
subscribe.
them, to be honest with you, and that
Yeah,
goes
it,
back to
it is. It's a
time.
crazy amount.
Yeah.
But you know what? I don't care. That's why I spend my money. I don't spend my money with Microsoft or Xbox because I feel like, you know what? They're hurting for the cash. Let me give it to them. No, I play on Xbox because I prefer Xbox. I prefer everything about it. That is my choice. I don't give a crap what you prefer. I don't care if you're a PlayStation person and that's what you want to play on. I don't care. The fact that it bothers you that I'm excited for a device that takes the best of PC, drops the worst of PC, takes the best of console, and combines them together and allows me access to everything that I own, and I own a lot. Yes, 100%. I'm looking forward to Microsoft's way forward. And you know what? We've already heard it from PlayStation countless times. They refuse to listen, they refuse to acknowledge. But PlayStation has come out and told you that their games will be everywhere. That is not a hyperbolic statement. That's not something that I'm saying I interpreted those words. No. From
They
years
literally
ago
said
now,
it.
they
Yeah.
said our games will be ubiquitous. It will be everywhere that you can compute. And that's where they started. And then time and time again, there's been interviews and interviews where they've been saying that this is going to happen. And guess what? A game launched day and date on the Switch. people ignore that. No, that was a one-time scenario. They'll never do that again. Okay.
You mean Lego Horizon was forced
Lego Horizon,
by Lego?
Yeah, absolutely. PC. How many games have they launched day and date on PC? Oh, well, that's just live service. Oh, okay, cool. Helldivers 2 on Xbox. Got it. No, that's just that one game. That's just a live service. No. It's everything is an excuse for them, because as soon as all those narratives go away, they have nothing to talk about, nothing to discuss, because their platform of choice is silent and does not deliver them enough games over the course of the year to have a conversation about PlayStation. You can have conversation about games in general. Sure, that will also be coming to PlayStation. Sure, but if you enjoy conversating about PlayStation, you have nothing to talk about.
Yeah, it's true.
And even when they give you something to talk about, like Ghost of Yote, it's one episode of conversation, and then they're back to talking about Xbox only, right? That's it. That's a sad place for them. Thankfully, we have so much to talk about, and as long as they keep talking their nonsense, we also have that too. It's a double. We have the double whammy. We can talk about whatever we want, right? We're eating well over here. It's a great time to be alive for Xbox fans. And frankly, I think PC gaming, and obviously we know Satya came out and said Windows is one of the biggest platforms. Yes, I know mobile is huge too, but I think he's talking about people who want to actually play real games, right? Not the mobile. Not that mobile games are not real, but they're cut down versions of console and PC games. You're now in a scenario where I think PC gamers who are not looking to have a $5,000 rig in every room in their house, right? They have their $5,000 rig in a certain place. But guess what? When they say, you know what, in the living room or in my family room or in this other room or in the bedroom, I can get myself a nice Xbox console that allows me to be a PC gamer still. And it doesn't cost me as much, right? And it's going to be good performance, and you're still going to get a lot from it. There's just so much option that is now going to be brought out to the world. And that's nothing to be annoyed about. That's nothing to talk down on. A company who's looking to give options to the players should not be mocked or ridiculed. They should be looked at as somebody who's not being selfish. They could be, right? They could say, you know what? No, listen, we're going to just put everything on Xbox only. We're not allowing other stores. We're not allowing you to play your other games here. If you want that game, find a way to buy it on Xbox or Xbox PC. They could have still done the PC thing, but had it just been Windows Store. If you want to play your game, you have to buy it on the Windows Store. Hey, devs, if you want our players who are going to prefer playing the PC version of stuff, if you want them, you're going to have to bring your games to the Windows Store. They could do that, but they're not.
Yeah.
They're saying, doesn't matter. Whatever game exists on PC, you can play on the next Xbox, whether that's a controller game or a mouse and keyboard game. And you know what's crazy? And a lot of people haven't, I think most people haven't talked about it because maybe it doesn't matter in the biggest scheme of things, but for a subset of people, my boy Pharaoh on our show brought up a great point. If it's a PC, right, which means it runs any software that's PC-like, it will be able to play your VR headset.
Yes.
So theoretically, with this new box, Xbox will be kind of fulfilling that old idea that they will go ahead and have a box that handles VR. The difference though is that you bring your own VR. Whatever setup you like, whether it's I
didn't even think about that. That's pretty brilliant right there.
Yeah, MetaQuest, you want to plug it in to get the best version of
power boost that you would on a regular PC.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's going to work with your Xbox. That is crazy for the people who do mess with, VR.
I'm one of them.
I'm just saying, right? It seems like one place is going to now allow VR to thrive however it thrives versus one place that told you that if you don't buy this PlayStation VR, you can't play VR, right? again, old times, right? Before that was it. Now they opened it up. This is just, again, everything now is changing and Xbox is leading the way. And the question these other people are going to have is, how long do they wait before they get on board? Do they let Microsoft just become this, ever like expanding ecosystem that the world just eventually one day realizes is just taking over gaming? And you got people who are still screaming about one game a year that's exclusive to PlayStation. If that doesn't change, I don't know. I think based off of everything that we've heard from PlayStation executives, I think everybody knows the trajectory. I think everybody's aware of where things are going, and they're trying to figure out how to stop the crying of these ponies. But I don't even think they care. I think it's just money. I think it's just money and time. They're hiring people. They're trying to make things work. But I think that's it, man. I know I talked about a lot of different things, but
no, listen, it's a conversational podcast, and it's great. It's a great point of view to have because again, we are talking about the next generation consoles, and if there's one thing that we can say before we get on out of here, and we'll read our super chat that we got here, is that you have two companies moving in opposite directions. Now, when I say opposite, I don't mean like the PlayStation is declining. PlayStation is going to release their next generation console. Now, there's a rumor that it may not release until 2028, which I think Xbox is going to jump them by a year, and it might be actually more if they release an OEM device next holiday, which I have a thought and theory that we're going to talk about tomorrow on Breakfast at Boom. That's going to blow your freaking mind. And this, again, it's just my thought and theory. I've been pondering on this for about a week. I finally wrote up the show. I've already shared it with the guys. It's going to be a great conversation. But interestingly enough, the PlayStation 6, which is going to be a very powerful console, I absolutely refuse to think that Sony's going to put out a less than console. I'm not suggesting that. The problem with the PlayStation 6 is that it's going to be a more powerful PlayStation 5. It is not going to do anything more than what the PlayStation 5 is doing, and that is playing their games, and that is it. Now, if that's enough for you, awesome. Where Xbox is rolling, how they're moving, is they're playing everything. Oh, including your PlayStation games, whether it be 3 months, 6 months, or a year. If you are someone that does not need that third person over the shoulder story driven game that I like day and date, you're like, I'll wait for it to go to Steam. I'll get it cheaper. And that game that is an exclusive for the PlayStation 6 that may even release day and date on Steam, you can just wait for and play it on your Xbox. That's the difference, folks. And I think a lot of people getting excited for the next Xbox, if it turns out to be this PC console hybrid that basically plays everything, you won't need other consoles. Now, Nintendo's a whole different story because obviously Nintendo isn't doing what Sony is doing by putting their games on PC, or they're certainly not moving the way Xbox is moving. I don't mind that. Let them stay in their own waters as they've always had. But when it comes to PlayStation and Xbox, it is going to, and again, I'm not suggesting that, all of a sudden because of this, they're gonna sell a bazillion consoles. You see, the difference here is they don't have to sell a bazillion consoles because, of course, we know that they're going to be allowing OEM devices, which could be lesser powerful, less expensive entry into Xbox that does all the same things as a $1,000 console, just like a PC. So you're going to have low range, mid range, high range OEM Xbox devices, and it's not going to matter. They're not rolling. They don't care about console sales. What they care about is selling their software, which will be everywhere. Again, we could talk about this for 3 hours, but unfortunately, both C Money and I definitely got to go. But I do want to catch up on the super chats and say great conversation, C Money. Again, it was here, there, and everywhere. But that's the kind of conversations that are engrossing. Those conversations matter because it's not just a one, us versus them laser focused conversation. It's not. And that, unfortunately, that's the community. It's got to be PlayStation better or Xbox better than that or no. It's not that anymore. Xbox is moving differently, and they're changing they are literally changing the game, pun intended, the same way they did in 2017 when they released Xbox Game Pass as their service. They're changing the game the same way they made backwards compatibility a thing. They're changing the game on how you get and play your content with Play Anywhere. Do you see what I'm doing here, folks? It's one innovation after
Right.
another, Simani.
And you know, the problem with all these innovations is that I would say that they've led on their own, but the world outside of the hardcore gamers don't understand it and don't know it. So PlayStation has been kind of living in this bubble where they get to succeed without innovating, right? They
Yeah.
get to succeed by just doing more of the same. And you know, frankly, that's probably going to be the same scenario going forward with whatever's next, right? Xbox can come out in next year with a new box, and in 2028 PlayStation will come out, and by the end of 2029 PlayStation will be ahead in console sales with the 3-year advance that Xbox had. It's just what will happen because the casuals know PlayStation. They're not researching, they're not going to understand any of this stuff, and frankly I don't know how, and that's not my job,
Right.
that Xbox would market this new device being capable of doing everything without confusing people who are looking just for a regular Xbox and not feeling overwhelmed, right, about the options, right? Regular people who, I'm sorry, not regular people, like hardcore people who understand, sure, easy all day, right? You tell them that they're going to be able to get their console and a PC and play games from anywhere they want all in one box. Hell yeah, they'll understand that and they'll be excited for it. But casuals, I don't think that they're gonna know or slash care that you could do more because they just want the basic shit. And the basic shit is all on console. Fortnite, Roblox, you don't need anything special to play any of that stuff.
Yep.
The console you have can do it. So that is the only place. And that's why at the end of the day, like all this conversation that is keeping being had about console sales and who sold this and who made what and all this stuff, like that doesn't matter, right? Again, in a world where that was really the only conversation to be had for a lot of this stuff, sure. But now things are changing, man. Things are changing and things are way more exciting now than they've ever been in gaming. For me personally, way more excited as a gamer now than I've ever been. So, you know, it is what it is.
Great points of view. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us here, but let me catch up on the 2 super chats and we'll get on out of here so you can enjoy your Thursday. LMNOPO, generous friend of the program, drops an outstanding $5 super chat. He says, Xbox Live may have been down the other day, but that didn't stop me from playing on my Xbox Ally X, which can play games outside of the service like GOG. Indeed, and that's that. I mean, again, I don't like that Xbox went down because that sucks, but they got it up running quick. I don't know what happened, but Azure took a hit for some reason. There's probably a DOS attack or something, but now everything's running great. But you're absolutely right, LMNOPO. The fact that you can play from Steam, you can play from Good Old Games, or even Epic Game Store is advantage on the console, and it's a big advantage that's going to happen on the future consoles as well. Oscar Wheat in the chat drops a very generous $5 super chat. And this is funny. He says, when Sony goes day and date on PC, there will be a big deactivation day on social media. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. People are going to run into witness protection immediately and hang out there for the eternity and play Xbox games on there, whatever. But look, see when it's other brand, brother. Let's talk about On Point for Gamer, where not only do you guys have outstanding podcasts, not only do you guys interview some of the, rub elbows with some of the big devs, but you guys also do a ton, and I mean a ton of reviewing games. Sell the brand, brother. Where can people check out and subscribe to the YouTube channel? But more importantly, follow you and Doodle on social media.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Well, obviously, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for having me on the show. I love doing the show, man. So always catch us here, 12 o'clock, Xvlog Live. this is the way. Do it. And then yeah, man, I'm C Money Forever on Twitter. You can go follow me there. Doodle to be free is my wife. And we have our show that we do, our channel, On Point for Gamers. I am putting the link in the chat now. Yeah, like Boom said, man, we do a lot of different stuff. We have our show. We also started our we have a game streaming show now called We Doing It Live. That's on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. where we, that's tonight, where we play typically 2 games. Tonight we might be running a gauntlet here, and I think I'm gonna, and I'll see, I have to confirm 100% what my plans are, but I think I'm gonna be doing all of the first party games that just dropped. So I might do a little keeper and then do a little Ninja Gaiden 4,
and of course,
little Outer Worlds 2.
Nice.
And then I'll have that, something like that, or I might do a spooky game. I don't know. We'll see. But we're every week Thursdays. We're playing games live. So that is tonight, 8 p.m. We'll start, and then Friday nights we have our show, The Night Shift. Let's Talk Gaming at 8 p.m. with our boy Hargeet and Demo. This week, actually, I gotta let them know, but we're not gonna do the show tomorrow, because it's Halloween.
Obviously, we got the kids trick or treating and everything, of course.
Kids,
Yeah.
So we're gonna be having a good time with the fam. I don't know if we're gonna do Saturday. Normally, what we'll do is if Friday doesn't happen, that we'll move it to Saturday. But Saturday is our first day of the Christmas season. We've literally, scary stuff out front goes out, and then Christmas stuff comes in.
Yes, the best time of the year. That's what I'm talking about.
November 1st, Christmas tree goes up, and we'll decorate it, do all that stuff. So depending on how it goes, we may do something Saturday night if the kids get tuckered out and they're done early, or we're just gonna stay and watch our first Christmas movie and have a great
November 1st, Mrs. Boom's birthday. She is an All Saints Day baby. Yes.
Wow, that's wow. Well, happy early birthday to her.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate
Shout out to her. That's awesome. That's awesome. But yeah, come check out the channel, man. And then we do Tuesday nights. So Tuesday nights is our night quests, 8 p.m. Eastern, and then Wednesday during the day. It's honestly, it's been so hard. We made the move, but
I know your work schedule's been bonkers, dude. Yeah.
So it's really difficult, but keep an eye out. Wednesdays, 11, 12 o'clock. We might be able to go live, maybe not, just depends. But yeah, definitely Tuesdays, definitely Thursdays, definitely Fridays. When there's no holiday or something like that, we're live. So come check us out. Again, I put the link in the comments. And come hang out. Obviously, a lot of our homies are here right now. I see them.
Speaking of homies, Hargeet Chani drops very generous $2 super chat and says, "Remember, everyone, Xbox is dead." Indeed, it is. Indeed, it is. But brother, it's great to work with you each and every week. Appreciate you being here. Again, normally the show's just a pinch over an hour, but we obviously had a lot to get into, and I got to tell you, the conversations that me and C Money have, I do look forward to them because they're off the cuff. They are shooting from the hip. There are no scripts. We do have a topic at hand. This last topic, I think, was brilliant because we did really break down and discuss the movement of Xbox and how different it is from what Sony is doing. And again, Sony is not doing anything wrong. They're just moving in a different direction. And I think, again, depending on where you line up, maybe the PS6 is not something that you're going to need to buy. And that's something to consider because I'm certainly not buying one if I'm able to play everything on my Xbox, whatever it's going to be called. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us here. A big thank you to C Money. A big thank you to everyone in the chat. We had over 400 people watching live. And of course, a big thank you to all of the super chats, channel member chats, as well as the gifted subs and channel memberships. Mrs. Boom and I do greatly appreciate it. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me. Hopefully one day, ladies and gentlemen, will be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of X Vlog Live.